And Kyle is filling in his predictions for the weekend as we speak. So that's a nice cheeky look at the process.
Yeah, we got like 3 left to do.
Yeah. What is your hot take then? Who's going to win the Manchester derby?
City.
Fine. Okay, then.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Watch More Football. Normally we're here discussing Premier League, but there hasn't been too much of that. So we weren't on last week, and we're not really going to be talking too much Premier League football this week as well. Everyone, you are watching us on the Genreverse Sports YouTube channel. While you're on there, why not check out our main Genreverse YouTube channel? There is lots of cool entertainment stuff on there, reviews, reactions, lots of anime, Wheel of Time reviews at the moment as well, which myself and producer Kyle are doing, if you're interested in that. I'm also doing written reviews of that show, some other shows, and there's lots of media content on our written website, which is lrmonline.com. So give that a check as well. Anyway, back to football. There is myself and Ryan here, as always, recently anyway. One thing I do want to just give a little shout out to is that we would just want to congratulate Dave and his wife, who have had their baby now. So he may be back with us at some point, maybe when she's 18. I don't know. Yeah. Depends how it goes, really. You know how it is. Anybody that's parents out there, right? Ryan and I have been through this.
Yeah, we've been
already.
We've been going through the war stories with him. It's
yeah. I'm kind of almost at the other end.
Did you guys? Wait, no. He had a daughter. Never mind. I was about to say, did you tell him about diaper changing and to be not parallel but perpendicular?
I've got no experience there on daughters, but yeah.
I do. I've got one each. But anyway, back to the football. Really, the last time on, there was no Premier League matches, and they're just starting again tonight as we're recording this. So we're actually going to be predicting those games and previewing them a little bit towards the end of the show. We have an international football, which we're not really interested in because literally nothing happened of note.
Nothing happened for any of the teams that we were interested in. A lot happened in the Nations League, but because England weren't there, that competition didn't happen. So, yeah.
Scotland also got demoted a league, but I don't really care. So there we go.
That's your international roundup.
Scotland broke my heart far too many times in the past. Anyway, that's international roundup. Absolutely, Ryan. We are going to talk a little bit about the FA Cup. It was the quarterfinals this weekend. A couple of games were a bit of a dead rubber though, so we may not focus too much on them. But the Saturday games anyway, we had it should have been a good game. Fulham versus Crystal Palace, but really it was very, very one-sided, and Crystal Palace won the game easily 3-0 at Fulham's place, which was, you would think they've got home advantage, I think Palace they're below Fulham in the table, but I think at the moment they're slightly the better team, but I think you'd expect a bit more from Fulham than that.
Yeah, Palace are they're a very good team. They're in really good form, but Fulham are good as well. That's one that really could have gone either way, and I was expecting it to be quite a bit tighter. I think Palace just got a good start, and Fulham didn't recover. But I mean, Eberechi Eze was absolutely phenomenal that game. His first goal was
big goal. He scored
an absolute peach, and then he set up the second really well. He danced past sort of 3 or 4 players, got to the byline, put in a brilliant cross for Sarr. So I think that was the difference. Nobody really turned up in that way for Fulham, I don't think.
No, they just attacking wise, they just didn't do enough to be in the game. I don't think. The other Saturday game we had was a bit of a tight affair. Ticked, as we would say in Scotland.
One for the purists.
It was ticked as two coats of tarmac. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0 after extra time 0-0, and then it went to penalties, and Forest won 4-3 on penalties. wasn't much really to say. I don't know what there is to say about the game itself, than
I think it's quite
Forest defended
it's summed
well
up by
and played for the penalties.
Yeah, I didn't watch Match of the Day on it, but they did at half time in the Preston Villa game. They did the highlights from the Saturday's games, and Palace Fulham. They did a normal sized highlights package on there, not a full Match of the Day, but like a sort of a YouTube video length highlights package. Brighton and Forest, they went straight to halfway through the penalty shootout. Showed nothing from the game itself. Missed the first two or three penalties.
It really was like that. I kind of think the impetus was on Brighton a little bit to break Forest down. Forest kind of, that is how they play, the hitting and the break, but it was all just too robotic. Forest sat back and Brighton are like, well, we're not going to hit the break, so we're not going to push you too hard.
And obviously,
nothing happened.
The last time they played, Forest beat Brighton 7-0, so I think Brighton themselves were trying to shore it up a bit as well, and it just didn't work.
The penalties weren't that spectacular even either, but
a couple of saves from Matt Sells, but
Forest are through. On to the Sunday games. I don't think there's really any surprise that Aston Villa went to Preston and won.
Although it was
0 really.
It was 0-0 at half time, and Preston had sort of frustrated them. Villa hadn't really created anything, but then, Preston are a very average Championship side, and Villa have just got players that they can bring on. And, Marcus Rashford got his first couple of goals for Villa. It's obvious. The quality was always going to shine through for Villa if they played anywhere near their strongest side in that game.
I mean, given how Preston have done so far to get this far, it's been really quite impressive. But it's like consistently play above yourself all the time. When you get to this point, quarterfinals, it's just
the only way they would have had a chance is if Villa went, no, we've got the Champions League coming up. Let's just sack this off and
if the other team's just not quite up for it. But they want to win because they've got Aston Villa know they've got a genuine chance to win the cup this year if they can keep going in this competition. So it would be criminal to go to Preston, really.
I mean, I picked after the third round, I said Villa would win it, and I'm sticking by that so far. I've not seen anything to change my mind on that. So.
I mean, I think the bookies will still have City as the favourite, who we're going to talk about next. I think you're right that I think any of the teams left in it have got a chance to win it. To be fair, I would say the ones that I would least fancy would be Crystal Palace of the four that are left in it.
Although apart from City, Palace have been in a final more recently than the Palace have been in a final more recently than Forest and Villa. So. But I mean,
you just don't know how they'll react.
The thing is, all three of those teams that are left, so Forest, Villa, and Palace, they can all beat Man City on the day. But can they beat them at Wembley? Because City, City have just
if they play like they did against you last year. Then they
but they do, they turn up to Wembley every year, So we'll see. I think Forest is the ideal sort of opponent if you want City to go out the cup. I think Forest absolutely plays into their strengths, having City trying to dominate at Wembley and just hitting them on the break. That's how we beat them in the final last year. So that, if that happens, that opens it up. But then we said the same thing about Bournemouth in this round, in that, that's a really tricky tie for City, and first half it looked like they were going to do it.
It really did. I mean, I was, I don't think you were watching the game. I was watching that game, and the first half, Man City had Haaland missed a sitter for him, and he also missed a penalty, but the penalty was completely against the run of play, and I felt Bournemouth were actually good for the 1-0 lead. But to be fair, I don't think it was necessarily Bournemouth kind of not turning up in the second half. City just came out, they changed a few things round about, and they dominated the second half.
I mean, Nico O'Reilly,
by the end, Bournemouth looked Spain.
Nico O'Reilly came on at half-time, didn't he? And immediately made an impact, and he's been quite good in the FA Cup, where he hasn't really got a look in the league for City so far. He's just one of those, generic City
First half,
players.
they had no width.
Yeah.
Nobody wide at all. And Bournemouth just dominated those areas. And then in the second half, they just put on, Pep just went wide. And all of a sudden, they're just all over them. And they seem to get their confidence after the first goal. And realistically, there was only one team in it. It could have been 3 or 4.
And then obviously, I know they brought Marmoush on because Haaland got injured. But I think his sort of pace and directness helps as well, because Kevin De Bruyne's passing range is not what it was. His radar is absolutely off. So you can't necessarily hit Haaland from long that way. So being able to have Marmoush just run at defenders was quite a useful option for them, I think. And really, after they went ahead, they could have had a couple more.
It's good for Marmoush that now Haaland's been injured. I mean, it's not a terrible time of the year for him to get injured. He'll be back by the end of the season. He'll probably make the FA Cup final if they get there. And he'll be there for the Club World Cup and everything like that. So actually, it's kind of a good time for Marmoush to get a bit of a run out and get some games under his belt and stuff like that. It might improve City in some ways, and then of course everybody will say, "Oh, it's Haaland's the problem."
Yeah, he offers a different style of playing, and I do think a lot of when they were winning the treble, when they were winning the league last season, a lot of it was they were reverting to hitting Haaland long and early. But where a lot of teams are more focused on sort of sitting back and countering, that doesn't really work if you've not got the space to run into. So if you've got someone like Marmoush who can unsettle a defender, it just offers that extra dimension. Whether that works from the start or not, I don't know. Obviously, he had quite a good game against Newcastle a few weeks ago, didn't he? So
yeah. I mean, we were terrible that game, though. And it was in that building up to the final and thinking about it too much and everything like that. But that was one of the games we were just utterly flat. But he played well. Fair play, though. He's a good player. So your predictions would be then that it's Villa versus Forest in the final. Is that what you think's going on?
I think Forest have got a decent chance. I wouldn't want to necessarily nail my flag to the mast that they're going to win that game, but if they play as well as they can play and they don't let the occasion get to them, I think they've got a good chance. It is very much
Forest are in a Champions League fight as well, and I think they'll be caught in two minds a little bit, because every game's like a final for them now at the end of the season. And they might just not turn up at Wembley against Man City.
Although
Man City are thinking this is our last chance of a trophy this
year. They're 9 points ahead of 5th. They're 10 points ahead of 6th. It's not insurmountable, but I think they can be quite comfortable. But the finals the semi-finals not till the 26th of April. They could be pretty much home and hosed by then. I don't think it's necessarily got to be one or the other. I think they can afford to drop. Drop a game.
I think they could probably. Yeah, I think you're right. At the same time, it's a mental thing. Don't know
I think the bigger challenge is the fact that it's City, the fact that it's Wembley. It'll be the biggest game that any of those players have played in. That's going to be the big thing. And City, for all they've struggled this season, something like that, their muscle memory kicks in.
Big game players, they're still big game players. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Villa will have too much for Palace, but yeah.
You'd think, but I wouldn't be massively shocked to see Palace beat them either.
No, and equally, Villa could be in the Champions League semi-final by then if they get past PSG. So.
Exactly, they could have multiple focuses, and they're trying to get up the league and trying to get into the kind of European positions themselves if they can. So I guess looking on at the Premier League itself, then we've got a kind of double fixture list before we next do our show. So games starting tonight. So we've got set on tonight, Tuesday night. We're recording. We've then got Wednesday night games, and then we've got games starting on Saturday, Sunday, etc. before we record next week again. In terms of, Pale will be able to bring up our predictions and stuff for which obviously we've no update in the leagues or anything because there's no fixtures to actually to do at the moment. So everything's as it was last time we recorded. But looking into the kind of weekend's fixtures, Ryan, which ones kind of stand out to you? I mean, guys have got a pretty tough.
Yeah, for the weekend we've got the Manchester derby, haven't we? So that's a big one. And Kyle is filling in his predictions for the weekend as we speak. So that's a nice cheeky look at the process.
Yeah, got like 3 left to do.
Yeah. What is your hot take then? Who's going to win the Manchester derby?
City.
Fine, fuck you then.
Specifically just because I wanted to elicit that reaction.
I've gone 2-1 United just because that's how it goes at the minute, and we've got players coming back. I think we're losing to Forest at the moment, but we've looked decent. But this season we've had that sort of result in us in a big one-off game. I think just there's a bit of chaos that can happen in that game, and I think we can.
I actually thought you would beat Forest, but I think it was maybe I was hoping you would beat Forest.
Yeah, I mean, this game's not over. We're 1-0 down. It was a poor goal to concede, but I know Forest like to sit back, but United have had a lot of the play and are creating quite a few chances. So that there's still something in us for this game tonight. But I just.
What about the games sort of tomorrow? Anything that you're looking forward to? You're interested in the Liverpool derby?
Villa have got some interesting games. So Villa are playing Brighton tomorrow, and then they're playing Forest at the weekend, and that's teams that they want to be trying to get ahead of. So that's an interesting couple for them because they've got PSG next week in the Champions League. Chelsea Tottenham, I think that's on Thursday. That's always interesting. You got the Merseyside derby later in the week as well. So those two could be spicy. I know we're basically saying that the league's done, aren't we? Because
yeah.
Well, so Liverpool
it's just fighting for European places now.
Yeah, Liverpool are 9 points ahead. Yeah, Liverpool are 9 points ahead with the game in hand.
Yeah, because they play tomorrow, Arsenal, and that's the live table you're looking at as well. Because
it is. You're right.
So, so that could change by the time we finish recording.
I mean, it's just the only way it's going to be interesting is if Liverpool lose like 3 of the next 4 games. That's the only way it's going to. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's the only interest is with the European places now. Who's going to follow it? Who's going to get into it? Who's going to finish up? Because it does look like it could be up to like some. Maybe even 8th place getting into Europe. Maybe even more than that, depending on what happens. Because obviously we've already won the League Cup, so if we qualify above the Conference League slot, then somebody else gets there, and so on and so forth. As it works out.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how you guys do tomorrow, because.
I mean, I think for us, we should be looking at 6 points for the next 2 games. Brentford are a different team.
Absolutely should be beating Leicester. Yeah, Brentford. Although it's been interesting.
It'll be Brentford, just typical if we go and get beat off Leicester.
Yeah, Brentford first half of the season won all of their games at home, and now they're winning all. They won. Like. 9
I think the atmosphere is going to be so good no matter what. Like, it's going to be absolutely wild.
The fact that your first game back is at St James's. It's
I think that's a good thing.
Obviously, there was some quite good footage from the weekend of the open top bus tour. Was Sandro Tonali doing his chant about eating spaghetti and drinking Moretti or something like that?
Well, there was quite a lot going on. I think Bruno got into a bit of trouble for doing one that was slightly risky against Sunderland. I mean, it's all just in good nature. He doesn't, he's just having a laugh. It was fun. I watched it until they started doing the music on the stage, and I was fed up watching Ant and Dec getting on the TV so much, because they were just involved in every part of it. But it was good to see for sure.
Yeah, it's how much heads will have been switched on Monday to get back to it, because. They've basically sort of been riding that wave for the last 2 weeks.
The advantage is we're at St James's Park, then we're away at Leicester, who are probably currently on form the worst team in the league, if not Southampton.
I mean, I'm not
Southampton are just so we can kind of we should be able to beat them at 70%. So if we fail to beat Leicester, it's because we've had a nightmare.
I do think if you're not on it against Brentford, though, you're in trouble
at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think we will be because it's at home. But you're right. If we're not, then we're in trouble. But that's the same in any game in the Premier League now. If you're not at it, then
unless you play in Leicester or Southampton,
the bottom three. Maybe the bottom three. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, apart from that,
who knows what the stories will be when we meet back next time. A lot of football
Spurs,
to digest.
Spurs versus Southampton. That is. Yeah, Spurs versus Southampton, that is a big sort of battle of mediocrity, isn't it? Although, actually, I think Southampton would be quite pleased with mediocrity, wouldn't
they? No, I can't see.
It's just.
I think we any more points. Or
we've all gone for a comfortable Spurs win there, but it's just if Southampton are going to get the win they need to go past Derby, I think that's a candidate. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think Spurs are bad, and especially when they've got players back. And I know they've got nothing to kind of fight for, but they need to keep their form up for the Europa League.
Yeah, so, it's just all the talk over the international break is that Ange is basically gone in the summer, and they're looking at Iraola to bring it in.
I've not actually saw those rumours, so I know that Levy was kind of coming out and saying, "Don't ask me to spend more money because I'm spending as much money as I'm willing to spend at the club based on what we." So he was basically saying, "Don't criticise me for no spending enough money," which is kind of a signal that money. I'm doing what I can, so it's the manager's fault.
No, they've spent money. They've spent a lot of money. I think they had obviously that season under Pochettino where they got to the Champions League final and then didn't sign anyone the next summer, and that was a mistake. It's a bit like United is that they've spent a lot of money on signings that look good on paper without any sort of thought about turning them into a team. It's just you go down. It's like you're playing FIFA career mode and you say, I need a striker who's got the highest rating that I can afford. Right, we'll get him. Not look at his attributes or anything. Just here we go. It's a bit of that, and I think just the overall mentality of the club is they're quite happy to consolidate rather than just push that extra bit to actually go and achieve something. No, I mean, I think the fans have got a valid criticism in the way the club has been run over the years, considering the head start they had when Newcastle were in crisis and Aston Villa were in crisis. I view in terms of what's on the pitch, both of those teams are superior to Spurs. Not necessarily financially. I know Spurs are doing well financially, but I mean, I've made this point a couple of times. Is that they get lumped in with the big six in the league, and that status has come from basically a couple of seasons in the Champions League, like 15 years ago. And they've got they came close.
Champions League much, have they?
They came close in the season that Leicester won the league. They were the ones challenging them closest for that. They didn't get there. They got to the Champions League final and didn't turn up. They've got nowhere near a domestic cup final, apart from obviously they were in the League Cup semi-final this year. So I think that's where the frustration comes from, is that they're pitched as this big club. They've got this state-of-the-art stadium that's an income machine that every single day they're bringing in money, not just on match day.
I think the fans' just don't point of view for them though is that they should be based on what they've got, the package that they've got. They should be punching higher than that, right?
You can't see just sign a couple of players here and there, and they'll be. You can't see like the jump that Arsenal made over the last few years from sort of Arteta's doing an okay job, but they're mid-table. To all of a sudden, you can't see that with them, and that's the issue, and I think that's what Postecoglou's been railing against as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be I really don't think it would be a bad thing for Spurs to go and get Areola and say it's a project. Build a team. Let's get some younger people in. Like, let's properly scout and go and get. I mean, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing every time. Is that everyone gets a project manager. Everyone gets a manager with like a philosophy and ideology. That's what Ange was 2 years ago when he started. It's about how you respond to it going badly. That's the thing. And at what point do you pull the plug? Ten Hag was that for United, and then that got thrown out straight away.
That pure attack mentality. I don't think Ang was pragmatic enough to be able to. I think Areola is at least adapts his tactics to the players he's got. I think he can be pragmatic when he needs to be.
Well, no, I think his tactics more suit what works well in the Premier League at the moment, where it's high intensity, it's really quick transition play, and it's keeping up physically. Whereas, just simply like we're going to go and try and score a goal every time we get the ball is just
and it's different every year. It might be different next year. It might be back to tiki taka football next year or something like that. That's dominating. I don't know, but you never know.
Yeah.
Oh well. So that's basically us for this week. A relatively short one, folks. Probably will be a bit longer next week because we'll have a lot more football.
We'll have 20 games of football to discuss.
Get to see where we all are after another 2 rounds of football. So we'll be back next week. Remember, while you're here, give us a like and subscribe if you like the channel. If you don't like it, let us know what you don't like. If you do like it, leave us some comments. Always happy to chat on the comments on YouTube. And while you're here, always just check out our main Genreverse YouTube channel. Loads of entertainment content on there, as I said, so check that out. You might find something you really like to watch. That's about it.
Okay.
See you later, folks. Bye.
Right.